Okay, so what we are going to do is create a few parts to create our stool in Inventor. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go to New at the top left, and we're going to go make sure that we are on metric rather than English or mold design, and we're going to go to standard millimeters IPT. Make sure that's selected and then press create. What we are going to do is basically create a 2D sketch of a part of the stool, and then we're going to extrude it so it's got a thickness just like the cardboard does of 5 millimeters. So to do that we need to go to the top left, and we're going to start a 2D sketch by left clicking here. As we go through this, we need to make sure that we are always on just the one 2D sketch rather than multiple sketches, because otherwise we won't be able to extrude afterwards. First thing we need to do is select a plane. You can choose any of these, but I'm going to choose the YZ because I think it's going to be easier for this part. So you can left click on that once it's selected. A center point will come up here. You can at all times use the pan tool on the right hand side of the toolbar just to move around the screen. What we need to do first of all is just double check we've got one sketch on the left hand side. So we're currently on sketch 1, which is good. If at any moment you're unsure how many sketches are, just refer to the left hand side column and you should be able to check. We need to start drawing out the part now, so we're going to go to the line tool, and we're going to left click on this at the top, and we can left click just on the center point, and you'll notice we can draw a line wherever we want. We are going to make a part of the stool which is 500 millimeters in width, and we need to make sure there's a 5 millimeter halving joint in the middle of it. So we are going to take 5 away from 495, and we're going to end up with 247.5. So we need to draw a line which is 247.5 millimeters. The way we're going to do that is we're just going to make sure that we're going at 90 degrees here, and we're going to type in 247.5, and then we can just press enter. That will now have a line which is 247.5 millimeters in length. What we need to do, however, is we can't actually see the whole of the line, so we need to either use the pan tool, but even easier, just below it, we can use this magnifying glass tool, and we can left click on it and press zoom all, and that will show the whole line in view. It's quite a useful tool as we go through. What we need to do next is create a 5 millimeter kind of halving joint in the part. So the way we're going to do this, we can just pan across, and we're going to go left click on line tool again, and make sure that it attaches on the end. It should be green, and we can draw up at 90 degrees, and we want it to be to half of the height of the stool, so that is going to be 450 millimeters high. I'm going to say the stool is going to be, so we're going to go 225 millimeters in height. 225, we can type that in, and we can press enter. Once again, we can use the zoom all to double check that we've got everything in view. Now I need a 5 millimeter thickness, so we're going to go across just like we have done, once again at 90 degrees, type in 5, and we're going to press enter. We've then got our line across. Then we need to bring this halving joint back down here, so bring it right down to the bottom, just double check it's 225, it should be, to make sure that the line is straight, again at 90 degrees, and then we can left click down here to ensure that we got our line. Just to make sure that we got the other 247.5 millimeter line, so that we get the whole width of the stool kind of part, we need to do another 247.5 millimeter line. So we're going to go 247.5, make sure it's at 90 degrees, press enter. That should be the base of the stool part done. So if we just do zoom all, we can double check that that's all there. If you press escape, you'll deselect that line, and you'll notice that we've got the bottom part. We now need to think about the height of the stool part, okay? So once again, we go to the line tool. We're going to go to this point here, make sure it's green so it's attaching. And we're going to go 450 millimeters in height. So we need to type in 450, make sure it's at 90 degrees to the base, and we can press enter. Once again, we can press zoom all, and we should be able to see the majority of that part coming together now. We need to bring this width again, the actual width of the part, so it's 500. Should all line up, but just double check that the numbers are correct. And then you can left click in that corner and bring the last one down here. If we press escape, we now have that whole part there, which is just what we want. Just like the one in the example in the booklet, I'm just going to create a bit of an arc on both sides, and I'm just going to show you how to do that quickly. So we're going to go to the arc tool here. There are 3 options if you look at the drop down, and to make sure that you are on the 3 point. And we're just going to go to this point up here, just left click once, and drag down, left click again at the bottom, and then you'll notice you can create whatever arc you want. To make sure it's equidistant on both sides, you should be able to notice that there are some kind of dots in between the dashes, and I'm just going to go for a distance of 350. This is just for demonstration, and we're going to press enter, and that's an arc right there. To ensure that we've got the exact same thing on the other side, we're going to left click up here where it's green, make sure it attaches, make sure it's on the same arc tool, the 3-point one, and we're going to left click on that, and then we're going to drag down, left click on this one, and then again you'll notice if it's in line because there'll be lots of small dots. We're just going to go for 350 again, and we're going to press enter. Press escape now. That should be our sketch. There is one slight problem with it in that we've still got these lines on the side here. So what we need to do is delete those. And sometimes when you do want to delete and trim a line, you might encounter a problem that there's a dimension in the way. So if we go to trim at the top here, left click on that. If I try and delete this dimension, this line here, it's absolutely fine, it lets me delete it. If I want to delete this one, it encounters a bit of a problem in that there's a dimension in the way and we can't trim that line like we want to. So a simple fix to that, just press cancel on that. And we can press escape, so we're not selecting anything. And we can just left click and then press delete on any dimensions you think might interfere with trimming the lines. So I'm just going to do these as well. You can always get these dimensions back again later. And then it should be easier to trim the line, which is what we are after. So we go back to trim, we should be able to delete this one now. There we go. And the same up here, and the same up here. Press escape, and we should have our final shape here, so that looks pretty good. We're going to go finish sketch, and just press zoom all. If at any point you accidentally press finish sketch and you get to this kind of scenario where it's not flat, you can just double click on your sketch on the left hand side and it should bring it back up again just like that. So we're going to go finish sketch. We can go, now that we've actually got our 2D sketch, we need to create a thickness on it just like it would be as our cardboard stool. So we're going to go to extrude at the top, and then it will automatically extrude by a certain amount. I think the default is 10 millimeters, but we want ours to be 5. So we're just going to put 5 in there, and we can press OK. Now that is currently our part. What we might want to do, the reason I chose that plane at the beginning is because it allows us to kind of see our part in isometric. But using this tool here, you can select any of the angles you want. And you can select any angle as a home. So if I go back to the isometric one that it was on default, and I right click on this little house button, I can go set current view as home, and I can go fixed distance, and every single time I click on any of these, if I then press home, it should bring it back to the original, just like that. So that's pretty much one part. And what you will want to do with that is you will want to go File, you want to Save As, and I'm just going to save this as Example Stool Part 1, and just rewrite one that I've already done, and make sure it's saved somewhere you can access it, because you will need that for the second part when you turn it into a technical drawing. Press Save there. that should be our part complete. And that is one part of the stool that we want. You will then want to go on and create the other parts before we can add them all into a technical drawing.